Welcome back, and now for the news in detail. US President Donald Trump says Iran will never have a nuclear weapon. The tweet follows Iran's announcement of further scaling back the 2015 nuclear pact commitments. World powers are trying to salvage the deal that faltered after the US withdrew from it in 2018. Russia's foreign ministry said it saw no threat of nuclear weapons proliferation after Iran's decision. Earlier, Germany, France and the UK urged Iran to avoid rolling back its commitments. They said it is crucial to de-escalate tensions in the region. Iran said it could reverse its actions if the United States lifts sanctions on Tehran. US President Donald Trump has threatened Iraq with sanctions if it expels American forces from its territory. Yesterday, Iraq's parliament voted to expel US troops in retaliation for the assassination of top Iranian General Qasem Soleimani in Baghdad. More in this report.
The US killing of Iran's military commander Qasem Soleimani has raised the prospect of another major conflict in the region. Amid the US-Iran standoff, Iraq's parliament asked Washington to withdraw troops from its territory. President Donald Trump retaliated by threatening Iraq with curbs. He said US troops won't leave Iraq until Baghdad pays for an expensive US airbase built there. But an Iran-backed Iraqi militia says if the US troops don't leave the country, they will be seen as the enemy of the state.
The Iraqi parliament has spoken, and now your troops should leave immediately. If your troops do not leave, or even if they delay themselves, they will be considered an occupying force and will be treated accordingly.
Meanwhile, US House Speaker Nancy Pelosi says the House will vote on a resolution this week to limit Trump's military action against Iran. She said no action against Iran can be taken without the approval of Congress.
And it reminded me that our founders, when they wrote the Constitution, they suspected that there could be a rogue president. I don't think they suspected that we could have a rogue president and a rogue leader in the Senate at the same time.
However, Trump said he does not need congressional approval even for a disproportionate strike.
The funeral prayers of the slain Iranian military commander Qasem Soleimani have been offered in Tehran. The Iranian supreme leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei led the funeral.
Tears and cries of sorrow and revenge echoed as Iranians bid farewell to Major General Soleimani. Hundreds of thousands of people came out to attend the funeral and protest against his assassination. Addressing the procession, Soleimani's daughter warned the US of devastating consequences.
The families of American soldiers in West Asia who have witnessed America's cruel wars in Syria, Iraq, Lebanon, Afghanistan, Yemen, and Palestine will be spending their days waiting for the death of their children.
Along with condemnation from around the world, the leadership of Iraq, Afghanistan and Palestine has criticized the US for the killing. The Hamas leader, Ismail Haniyeh, said Soleimani was not just a soldier of Iran, but a martyr for Palestine.
I say that the leader and martyr Soleimani, who spent his life in support of the Palestinian resistance as he headed the Quds force in the Iranian Revolutionary Guards, I can say with what has happened to him, he is the martyr of Jerusalem, the martyr of Jerusalem, the martyr of Jerusalem.
Qasem Soleimani and Hezbollah Kataib leader Abu Mahdi al-Mohandis were killed in US airstrikes in Baghdad on Friday.
Senior Iranian politician Major General Mohsen Rezai has threatened to hit Israel if the US attacks Tehran. The tensions between Tehran and Washington are high after a US airstrike killed Iranian General Qasem Soleimani. Speaking in Tehran, the former Islamic Revolution Guard Corps chief said Iran will target Israel's port city of Haifa, among others. Rezai said Tehran will fight until the complete withdrawal of American troops from the region. He said the Soleimani assassination represents an attack on the regional resistance to terrorists. Soleimani's successor, Ismail Ghani, has promised to avenge the death of Al-Quds force head. Meanwhile, the US President Donald Trump has threatened major retaliation if Iran responds to Soleimani's killing. Saudi Arabia's Foreign Minister Prince Faisal bin Farhan said the kingdom does not want to see further rise in regional tensions. Speaking in Riyadh, he said all the stakeholders should take necessary steps to prevent any provocation. He was referring to the situation created after last week's USA strike in Baghdad. Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesman Yang Shuang also called for the international community to help ease the tensions. In a phone call with the Iraq's Prime Minister Adil Abdul Mahdi, British Foreign Minister Dominic Raab stressed the need for a dialogue to get out of the crisis. Pakistan's Foreign Minister Shah Mehmood Qureshi says the situation in the Middle East is very serious and concerning. Speaking in the parliament, Qureshi says Pakistan will not become a party to any regional conflict. The details in this report.
The killing of an Iranian general, Qasem Soleimani, by the US last week has set alarm bells ringing in the Middle East. Being an important stakeholder in the region, Pakistan urges both the countries to exercise restraint and resolve the issue diplomatically. Foreign Minister Shah Mahmood Qureshi says further use of force can worsen the crisis in Syria and Yemen. He said the crisis will have a negative impact on the ongoing Afghan peace process.
We think this incident will negatively impact the Afghan peace process. Pakistan played a role in the reconciliation process. There are some elements who can use this incident to spoil the Afghan peace process.
They should be expelled.
The foreign minister warned that India may exploit the situation to conduct a false flag operation against Pakistan.
International law.
India always seeks an opportunity to destabilize Pakistan, and in the current scenario, when the entire India is rocked by protest over the Citizenship Act, to divert attention from these protests, India can resort to a false flag operation.
The foreign minister urged the United Nations to play its role in safeguarding the region and putting out this fire.
German Chancellor Angela Merkel will visit Russia on the 11th of January for talks with President Vladimir Putin on the crisis in the Middle East. The Kremlin said Merkel will make the trip on the invitation of Putin, and they will also discuss the situation in Syria, Libya and Ukraine. Merkel's spokesman said German Foreign Minister Heiko Maas would accompany her on the trip. Tensions in the Middle East increased after the United States killed a top Iranian general in an airstrike in Baghdad last week. The attack has stoked concerns about a major conflict. In India, countrywide protests have erupted against the attack on students of Jawaharlal National University in New Delhi. At least 30 people were injured after masked men entered the university and beat up students. More in this report.
Sentiments and temperatures are flaring in India as dissent against Prime Minister Narendra Modi's BJP government grows. Students from Mumbai, Kolkata, Delhi, Pune, Hyderabad and Aligarh came out in unison after many were tortured.
I'm totally shocked. In a gated institute like JNU, where I can't enter for a program, how did these ABVP goons enter? You know, politics aside, elections aside, this is India. We are not a banana republic. I'm shocked. I may not do politics again, that's a different thing. But what has happened today is a travesty.
Hundreds gather outside police headquarters at Delhi's ITO junction to condemn police inaction against the masked assailants.
Campus gates are shut. Police are standing here. There were reports that came from the inside that goons are entering the hostels and are beating the students. They are moving hostel to hostel. Police are standing here and shutting the gate. There are no police inside where the students were being beaten.
The students of Aligarh Muslim University held a candlelight march. The JNU Student Union has blamed the latest violence on a right-wing student body linked to the ruling BJP political party. Meanwhile, in England, the students of Oxford University also rallied in solidarity with the JNU students.
The leader of Indian opposition party Congress, P. Chidambaram, says India has practically lost the value of Kashmir. He said the BJP committed constitutional desecration by revoking the occupied valley's special status. In an interview, the former Home Minister said the ruling party has painted all the Kashmiris as militants. He said BJP government propagated a deceptive calm in the valley as it has only put a lid on a volcano. He said the first step to resolving the Kashmir issue is to talk to the people there and engage in a bilateral dialogue with Pakistan. The occupied valley is reeling under curfew and communications blackout for the last 155 days. In Indian-occupied Kashmir, Muslims are still reeling with a 5 months long illegal lockdown. Amid curfew on phones and internet, they are struggling to connect to the outside world. And sometimes they have to travel for hours to get internet access in the disputed region.
Braving the intense cold, two Kashmiri students, Adil and Riaz, took a grueling journey to reach remote cyber oasis Banihal. They traveled by train, by truck, and then walked in snow for several hours to get online.
You can say yourself, imagine how much I struggled just so I could board this train. It was so crowded and we weren't allowed, and there was no space to even sit in a coach.
In cut-off Kashmir, access to the internet comes at a price.
The reason why I'm here at Bunny Hill today is simple. I needed to use internet for multiple reasons, and the first thing and more important thing is to fill scholarship forms.
People say it is impossible to pay utility bills, make applications, or just send a message to family outside the stricken zone.
I found internet with great difficulty. The work that takes me half an hour to accomplish took me an entire day. If internet hadn't been banned in the Kashmir Valley, I wouldn't have wasted so much time.
Amid clampdown by the Indian government, the curfew on communication has also crippled the economy of the valley.
President Tayyip Erdogan says Turkish troops have started moving into Libya after Parliament approved the move last week. He said the mission will provide stability for the UN-backed government of national accord in Tripoli. Erdogan said Turkish soldiers will build an operation center in Libya and work to avoid a humanitarian tragedy. Erdogan's decision has been met by widespread criticism from the US, European countries and the Arab world. Israel, Greece and Cyprus have warned Turkey against any deployment to Libya. In a related development, the UN Security Council will meet behind closed doors today to discuss the Libyan conflict. The meeting is a first for the UNSC members to discuss the controversial security and maritime deals struck by Libya and Turkey in November. In a statement, UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres renewed his call for an immediate ceasefire in Libya. He said any foreign support for the warring parties will deepen the ongoing conflicts and make finding a peaceful solution more difficult. Diplomats say Russian backing for the General Khalifa Haftar's forces in Libya can also be raised in today's session. In central Mali, 5 soldiers have been killed in a roadside bomb explosion in a region of Alatona. The troops were traveling near the border with Mauritania when their convoy hit a roadside bomb. Mali has been struggling to contain an insurgency which has claimed thousands of lives since 2012. More than 140 Malian soldiers died in attacks between September and December. Social Democratic candidate and former Prime Minister Zoran Milanovich has been elected Croatia's president. The State Election Commission says Milanovich took nearly 53% of the vote in Sunday's polls. More in this report.
Social Democrats partied in the streets of Zagreb as the liberal left triumphed over the center-right nationalists in Croatia. Former Prime Minister Zoran Milanovich claimed victory in the runoff after beating 11 other candidates in the first round.
Dear friends, welcome to the Factory of Victories as I have promised. Thank you to all, those who voted for me, those who did not vote for me, and thank you to my rival.
Milanovich's nearest rival and outgoing president, Grabar Kitarovic, took a little over 47% of the vote. In her speech, Kitarovic wished the new president a successful 5-year term in office, which begins in February.
I am once again calling for unity at this moment as I am finishing this speech. I wish every success to Zoran Milanovich because that is in the interest of my and his and all the children in our country. That is in the interest of the Republic of Croatia and our progress.
Milanovich will begin his term of office after Croatia takes over the 6-month rotating presidency of the European Union on January 1st.
In Venezuela, 2 lawmakers have declared themselves parliamentary speaker after a tumultuous day in the country's politics. Opposition legislators re-elected Juan Guaido as head of Congress, but were forced to do so from an alternative site. Troops with the right shields blocked Guaido and his supporters from entering the parliament. The blockade allowed the ruling Socialist Party to hand the post to legislator Luis Parra. The US, the EU, and many Latin American states have condemned the handling of the vote. Speaking to his supporters at the auditorium, Guaido repeated his claim to Venezuela's presidency.
I swear before God, before the Venezuelan people, to fulfill this constitution, the inherent duties of the position of President of the Parliament and Interim President of Venezuela, to enforce the rights of our Venezuelan brothers and sisters. If it is to be so, may God and the fatherland award it, if not condemn it. I am sworn in thus as the President of the National Parliament.
Australia's Prime Minister Scott Morrison has committed an extra $2 billion to help cover the cost of rebuilding as bushfires ravaged the country. Light rain fell on most of the east coast from Sydney to Melbourne, while torrential rain was reported in some parts of New South Wales. Morrison said the government will pay whatever it costs to recover from the fires.
The $2 billion commitment is an additional commitment. It is an additional cost. It is an initial commitment, and if further funds are required, further funds will be provided. What we are focusing on here is the human cost and the rebuilding cost for people's lives.
A Spanish coastguard vessel has rescued 60 migrants in the Atlantic Ocean of the country's northwestern coast. It said the rescued people have been sent to the port of Argenicon in Gran Canaria. Spain's Ministry of Interior said sea arrivals to Spain have fallen, but those to the Canary Island have more than doubled in 2019. The authorities said migrants have changed routes to reach Europe because of the increased security in the Mediterranean Sea. Thousands of asylum seekers from Africa and the Middle East embark on the dangerous journey by sea every year to make it to Europe. In China, the annual International Ice and Snow Festival has kicked off in the northernmost Heilongjiang province near Siberia. Visitors from around the globe have flocked to the city for the spectacular ice sculptures and snow weddings. More about the Ice Festival and other winter events in this report.
Harbin in Heilongjiang is one of China's coldest cities, where temperatures can drop as low as 35 below zero. Braving the severe cold, the city is opening its 36th Snow Festival, featuring amazing fireworks and around 400 fun activities. The festival is a major contributor to the region's booming tourism industry.
Yeah, we really like it. Yeah, it's magnificent. The structures, yeah, the carvings, really good. We've only just arrived, but my family are all on their bikes and we've just slid down our first ice slide, which was fun. Started on the small one behind me first, didn't want to go too brave.
In northwest Shanxi province, people are preparing for the upcoming Spring Festival. In the city of Xi'an, a light show has been lighting up the night sky, along with a cultural show adding to the festive atmosphere.
I think the scene was really magnificent, really brilliant. It shows the antique style and beauty of the Sichuan area.
The Spring Festival is the time when families across the country unite to welcome the new year, falling on January 25th this year.
Now moving on to California, where the 77th annual Golden Globe Awards saw a star-studded evening in the Beverly Hills. Hollywood celebrities gathered to celebrate some of the biggest films and the TV shows from the last year. Universal's 1917 took Best Drama, while Sony's Once Upon a Time in Hollywood picked up 3 honors. What about last night's winners in this report?
And the Golden Globe goes to Quentin Tarantino, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Quentin Tarantino's Once Upon a Time in Hollywood won 3 prizes at the 2020 Global Awards, followed by 1917 Joker and Rocketman with 2 each. Accepting the award for Best Screenplay, Tarantino said he may stop directing movies in the future.
As time has gone on, I've been making movies for a long time. I've given them a lot. And so now I like the idea of being more of a writer and just me and my pen and a piece of paper and just kind of dealing that way.
And the Golden Globe goes to Joaquin Phoenix.
Joaquin Phoenix won Best Actor for Warner Brothers' Joker, while Renee Zellweger claimed Best Actress for Roadside Attractions and Awkwafina for The Farewell.
Awkwafina, The Farewell.
Brad Pitt and Laura Dern each won Best Supporting Awards.
Brad Pitt. Once upon a time in Hollywood.
Tom Hanks has been honored with a Lifetime Achievement Award.
Ladies and gentlemen, Tom Hanks!
The veteran actor won back-to-back Oscars and Golden Globes in 1994 and 1995 for his roles in AIDS drama Philadelphia and comedy drama Forrest Gump.
Thank you, HFPA. Thank you all here. Thank you all for all your inspiration and all of your work and all of the struggle that you guys all go through in order to hit the marks and tell the truth. I have checked the gate. The gate is good. Thank you.
In television, HBO's Succession took Best Drama Series, while Netflix, which had the most nominations with 17, could win only 2 statuettes.
Lows and the highs of the business world now. Stock markets across Europe have taken a dip amid escalating tensions between the US and Iran. Investors are offloading equity stocks in favor of gold and energy stocks. Frankfurt's DAX is trading over 1% lower. CAC 40 in Paris has shed over 0.75% as Air France-KLM shares lose 3.5% in early trade. FTSE 100 is trading over 0.5% lower as Hikma Pharmaceuticals slid over 4.5% after JP Morgan downgraded the stock. In Asia, Nikkei 225 led the losses to close nearly 2% lower, while Seoul's Kospi lost nearly 1% lower. Oil prices have touched a 3-month high after the international benchmark Brent crude gained over 2% to reach over $70 per barrel. The price might rise further over supply concerns amid rising Middle East tensions. Prices jumped nearly 4% on Friday after a US airstrike killed top Iranian commander Qasem Soleimani. The Eurasia Group has predicted a further price rise to $75 per barrel because of the risk to oil infrastructure in the region. The US State Department has warned of a heightened risk of attacks on oil facilities and other targets in Saudi Arabia. And that's all for now. For the latest updates, you can follow us on social media at Indus.News.